Y'all know what time it is. It's time for your favorite podcast. We back for another amazing episode 180. God damn, we be talking.
Can I say something to you? You know, I just realized something, Cuzzo.
What's good?
We be telling them it's their favorite podcast, but technically it's my favorite podcast too.
Hey, only shit we listen to. You ain't got time. You know how much time it take to do this? We gotta listen to us.
I just didn't know if you understood that. It's their favorite podcast, but it's also my favorite podcast. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all know what it is. So welcome. With that said, welcome back to your favorite podcast. Y'all know what it is. I'm your host as usual, Jarrett, Chief Revenue Officer, Outside the Box Digital. And you know I got my brother, my brethren, your favorite CEO, Chadeo. What's good, baby?
We in the building, man. And I'm back on our favorite podcast.
He ready to do it. He ready to part.
I'm just saying, man, you know, listen, man, where else can you come? Here's some great success stories, right? Unfiltered, unscripted. Have a smoke or two, have a den do or two, get some gems dropped, and possibly get a scholarship, get an internship. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Hey, this is a one-stop shop. There ain't nothing like it on the market out here. Method. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, you know, I'm always happy to be here. You know what I'm saying? Man of the people. So you know how we like to start the show, ladies and gentlemen. Always G&T, grateful and thankful. And this show is no different, right? Once again, we got another phenomenal guest that's going to come on and give you his story in his own words, right? He's going to be authentic. It's going to be unscripted. And he's going to be vulnerable. He's going to let you know his ups, his downs, and what success looks like through the lens of his eyes. You understand what I'm saying? And we are thankful for that, right? We are thankful that we still have guests that not only come on the show, but want to come on the show, that reach out to us and ask to come on the show, that want to be a part of this journey because they understand how important this is for the economy, for the society, and they understand the impact that they are having, right, worldwide, because we get millions of views. So we're grateful and thankful to the guests, man. Shout out to them.
Absolutely, man. Great. Yeah. You know, grateful for us, man. Grateful and thankful for us, man, for pardoning another day, man. Y'all keep us grounded, man. Y'all keep us, you know, just thank you for all the love across all platforms. Shout out to Twitch, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. Y'all know what it is, man. And before we get his brother an amazing intro, how we usually do and get this party started, I'm going to hit y'all with a little quote. I'm going to start doing something different because I want to hit him with a quote.
Okay. I'm ready for it.
We always talk about mindset. We talk about the success stories. So remember that one thing we're going to start off with right now. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at will change. And that's a real ass quote. So I thought that was something we share with y'all. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about. Let me hear that one more time.
Wait, let me hear that one more time.
Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at will change.
There it is, man. I like it.
You know what I'm saying?
I think it gets a horn.
Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna start off with a quote, and we're gonna start the tone off like that. You know what I'm saying? And with that said, let's holler at our big bro, man. Let's start the show. Let's give him the intro that he deserves, man. First of all, to set the tone, man, we got a lot of mutual friends, man, but this is another brother that we met at Black Week. We met at the closing event at Black Week. My bro E, man, shout out to E, shout out to Ken, shout out to my brothers, man. Introduced me to him, man. It was like, yo, we just hit it off immediately by the bar, man. It was like, yo, told him what we was doing, said he wanted to be on the show, and we making it happen, man. Less than 2-3 months later, man. So y'all know what it is, man. This is a podcast where we go beyond the resume, beyond the profiles, and we tap into the real stories of the game changers in the business and the culture. And this brother right here is a proud Nigerian-American business leader, born and raised in Chicago. His journey's taken it from the University of Illinois to leadership roles in some of the biggest companies in the industry, with over 15 years of experience spanning from top agencies like WPP, Publicis, and IPG, as well as major tech giants like Microsoft and Apple, as well as Fortune Mag, y'all, on C-suite level. So beyond the boardrooms, he's also an artist at heart, passionate music lover, avid traveler, skillful photographer, and a dedicated martial artist. We're going to talk about that, bro.
We got to talk about that.
You know what I'm saying? It's a story of balance, discipline, creativity. So let's give our brother, you've seen him at Black Week. You've seen him on the stage. You've seen him in the boardrooms. You've seen him on the sales calls. You've seen him on your marketing team. And now he's had more than a title for the very first time. Let's introduce our brother, Travaughn Akogu, y'all.
Thank you, man. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate it.
There it is. There it is.
That rollout was crazy.
You saw last
man, what y'all talking about?
Listen, you know we're gonna get to the Bruce Leroy of the story. I'm saying I got the glow, I got the curls, I got the glow. Trey, you might have to teach me a move or two so I can 1-inch punch a motherfucker through a wall.
Right. I see you, man. You so fresh, man. You got to keep them up off you.
Yo, Trey, I almost gave him a pause.
No.
Wait for what?
Oh, man.
You got
that's
like
that's the earliest time ever in this show.
But bro, welcome to the show, bro.
Welcome to the show, man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, of course, man, we appreciate you. We are, you know, I mean, we're honored to have you, bro. So for the first time listeners, like we said in the intro, man, this is we talking to the game changers, the people who are really shaping culture, shaping the industries, and usually how we like to start it off, bro. We love to hear, man. Tell us about the early influences, some, you know, growing up and how that was like for you, man. So we get, you know, a little look into your mindset.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, with me, like you said, grew up, born and raised Chicago, South suburbs too, as well. Went to high school out there, went to University of Illinois, so spent my formative years really born and raised in Chicago. Grew up really loving engineering, funny enough. And I think some kind of way, and we'll get into that later, that is kind of what found, you know, the type of marketing that I do. But yeah, man, just normal kid growing up. Like I said, took martial arts since I was in 7th grade. But yeah, man, pretty normal, simple life growing up in the Chi. Funny enough, though, I will say, and it's ironic because I've lived in New York for over 10 years, love Dipset. So like it's just funny, like being full circle. And it's crazy what they got going on between Jim and Cam right now, and a little disheartening, but it's just funny, you know, what you thought you would be as a kid to seeing where you are now and like how that all blends. Like you couldn't have told me I wasn't from like 145th and Lexington growing up as a kid. Just the diplomatic community was crazy. So or Lennox, I should say. But yeah, for sure, man. For sure.
But you said some interesting shit. You said, you know, a simple life in a shot. Life don't sound simple in a shot. What the fuck?
Wait, we gotta get off the same mind, yo. Because the first thing that triggered to me was like, yo, did he just say a simple life in Chicago and then repeated it? That was the first thing I was gonna say. Like, what the fuck says a simple life in Chicago?
That's true.
That's true. You gotta go.
I mean, that's true. I mean, I think. And you know what's funny? Like I take it for granted because you know if you grew up there, it's kind of everybody kind of has the same story. You know, like you see a little bit of everything growing up. So I'm Nigerian-American. Like I'm literally African-American. My mom's Black American. My dad's the Nigerian one, right? So like it was very interesting being raised in a mix of both households too, right? Like you go out with your friends. I went to school at this school that was what they call it, a magnet school, right? So I took French from kindergarten to 8th grade, was fluent in French. And the school's in the middle of the projects, which was crazy because kids from that project, it's called Princeton Park, couldn't even go to the school. All the kids were bussed in, right? And then they had a school that the kids like from that area went to, which is wild, you know, when you think about it. But it was like you're around all your friends and, you know, just like inner city, just being bad, like on the bus, et cetera. And then I come home to like a very Nigerian household, you know, like why you have a C? Like, what is this? You know, like crazy. And I think that put I thought it was wild at the time, but that, you know, definitely was instilled into me going into my adulthood of just wanting excellence and expecting excellence for myself. So,
but I want to touch on that really quickly because I'm gonna be real with you, Trey. In the hood that I grew up, you motherfuckers from across the street had to kind of ask permission to cross the street and kind of hang out in our hood. I'm serious. Like that's how clicked up we were. Like if you were from across the street, you were from across the street. Like don't cross this street right here, right? So I'm curious of how you were in a project in Chicago, surrounded by kids that weren't even allowed to go to their own school, but yet you guys are coming out of school and the ones that didn't go to school or whatever, but you're in their community. What was that interaction like? It
was crazy. So it's funny you mentioned that. Like we used to get out of school at 1:30 because the other kids got out at 2. So like the administrators at the school already knew what time it was, right? But then,
damn. There we go.
Like it'll be times when I'm like getting back to what I was alluding to, like, you know, you just being a knucklehead like any other kid. I remember one time I got put off the bus and I was in 5th grade, but I've been big my entire life. Like I probably stopped growing at like 13 and I'm like 6'2", right? So I'm walking, I had to walk, like I got put off the school bus, got into a fight with my best friend on the bus, got put off the bus for a week. So my parents were like, you know, you got to figure it out. You big and bad enough to be fighting on the bus, like you got to take CTA home, right? So like anybody from Chicago knows what that 95th Street, like red line stop is like. It's crazy. So like you have to walk through the projects to basically get to the bus stop. So I remember being a kid and some dude walked up to me and was basically like, what are you? You know, like kind of like what gang you in? And I'm like, Neutron. They're like, all right, man, get out of here, man. You better be something next time we see you. You know, but like, well, I mean, they gave me a pass definitely because I was a kid, and you know, I think it's a little different too growing up now because these kids are wild. Like you read the news now, but like I grew up in the 90s. Like I'm 35, right? So I grew up in the 90s, and I feel like it was a bit more structured back then. And even though I was big for my age, people knew I was a kid, but they were just pressing me a little bit. But like to your point, like, yeah, no, it was like, you know, you don't have no business over here. So why you over here kind of deal, you know? So
shit, but you 6'2" at 13 years old. I know they trying to recruit you. Like, they have to. You know, who this dude? I know you could do it. And then you know karate too. I know you had to kick somebody's ass real quick, hit him with a roundhouse.
Well, that's probably why my parents put me in karate in 17 too, right? Because it's like you look grown, but you're not. You know, so it's like you got to defend. You got to learn how to defend yourself. And I was super awkward too, right? Like, you know, imagine growing that fast. You don't know how to use your limbs or anything. Just mad, awkward, walking hunched over. Almost, I wouldn't say ashamed of your height, but just don't even know what to do with it. Like you just so awkwardly bigger than everybody else.
Right.
But you know, to your point, I mean, a testament to you know my parents, my community, keep me on the straight and narrow because like that was almost never an option for me. You know, it was like you need to have your behind in school. And like I said, mischievous is as much as any other kid, but it's like, you know what the ultimate goal is. Like you need to have yourself together. So
yeah. But at now this is gonna go for Jarrett. I'm gonna throw you to alley because I know you was thinking this anyway. No. At 13, 6'2", how you don't have a ball in your hand? I knew he was thinking it already. You're dunking on everybody without trying. Like, so I'm just curious, like, did anybody try, like, even your, let's say, because you know what happens a lot is the teams in the school seek out talent within the school, right? So then did any coaches from the basketball team or maybe even the football team, because I'm pretty sure you got some size on you, did anybody try to recruit you to possibly go into sports because you know you had the height and the weight and everything so fast, and they're like, he would be a natural athlete if we could, you know, train him into whatever sport? Did that ever happen as an option? Okay.
Hey yo.
What happened?
He said, you know, you got some size on you.
But I let him go on when he said I was big and I was growing it. Bro. Oh man, that's crazy.
No.
I appreciate you for letting me slide on that because that is kind of crazy.
I was like, I'll let you slide a couple times on that.
This is your house.
Right. Right.
God damn it.
I appreciate that. But no, to answer your question 100%, man, I think that goes into what I was saying too about, you know, just Nigerian households. Like my dad was not for me playing sports. I think I was terrible in basketball off jump. Like I've never been good at basketball. Pretty good in football, but like when I got to high school, my dad was very much on like, you need to have straight A's. And the crazy thing is like growing up as a kid, elementary school K through 8, I used to be a straight like BC student because I've always been strong kid. So like I would have the highest test scores in the school, literally like standardized tests. So like we'll take tests in school and I'm like, yeah, I don't need to do the homework.
Gotcha.
So I was like, I'm never doing homework. So I'll take the test. Let's say I get a 90 or 100 on the test and then I won't do any homework. And my parents are like, just do the homework and get the grades. And I was like, why? Like it's busy work. Right. So when I got to high school, I think even my parents were shocked at how I just turned it on of like, okay, like now I'm actually a straight A student because it was never hard for me to do that before. But I think they were skeptical about me even picking up sports because they're like, look, you got to make sure you're together in high school to make sure that you're able to go to college. Then I played football junior year, ended up hurting my hand. I like dropped the weight on my finger or whatever, and that was kind of over with. But yeah, that's mostly why I wasn't. I think the kind of the consolation prize that they gave me was like, here's karate. You know, like here's something to do to get out the house. And then I also worked a lot in high school. So, but no, 100%. The track coach we used to be in this thing called PE or honors PE, which is PE conditioning for athletes. Mm-hmm. So I naturally took that anyway. And the track coach was always like, man, you need to be playing football like every day.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah.
But I totally get it. I mean, all the stuff that we've discovered about football now, though, right, with all the CTE stuff, a lot of people are even questioning for that reason if they would let their kids play. I mean, I think I would. I think that's the kids' choice. I think kids now are a little soft and they could use some structure like that. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the reason why I didn't play organized sports.
I can dig it.
Definitely, bro.
Yeah.
You said something. You said something too, bro. Like I'm curious. It's a 2-part question, right?
Mhm.
I would love to know what's some of the best game that your parents gave to you, and I would love to know like what would you tell? Like I'm curious of the difference between an African American household and an African American household. Like what are the two differences? Because you got both. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, I would say I think a lot of my street smarts, if you will, are just knowing how to maneuver. Whether it be here in New York or in Chicago, I think that definitely came from my African-American side, right? Like my mom, born and raised in Chicago herself, family came up through the Black migration from Mississippi. But like, just being savvy about things, understanding your surroundings, I think that really came from my mom. Also hard worker too, right? Crazy hard worker. I think my dad, his thing was always, I think from him, it was more so about not taking your gifts for granted. That's one thing I always got from him, right? I didn't necessarily know, like you're a kid, you don't know what a gift is, right? But he was always, I see it from his perspective now, he's like, you're lazy. You could be the best here. It's no reason you're not doing it except just taking it for granted. And one day it may not be there. Like I think of one saying he always told me is like, hold your hands up and you're like, all fingers are not equal, right? So he's like, yeah, like you're telling me this kid didn't do this, but all fingers are equal. Like your gift is different than theirs, right? Like they may be more talented in this, but you're really talented in math. So you need to do what, like, cut your coat according to your size. So.
Message.
Cuzzo, you on mute.
I was gonna say.
No,
you did. I was saying,
trigger fingers is quick, Trey. Quick on it, man. The reason we ask that because it's always so again in our neighborhoods, right? A lot of the African immigrants that come from Africa, they do more well, right, when it comes to education because the structure of their family is geared towards we not playing around, right?
Yep.
We're not playing around, like school is school and all that playtime shit can come later, right? Yeah. And we've even had the conversation as far as to go to say like if you do the math to most urban communities, it's the kids that don't come from the urban communities, it's the immigrant kids that end up being the valedictorians, salutatorians, and I'm talking from elementary school all the way up, right? Yep. And it doesn't resonate to you, right, as a kid in the moment that your education is extremely important, not only for the growth of you and your career later, but for the financial stability of your family, right? Because let's say coming out of high school, you're the valedictorian or the salutatorian, you're getting a free ride to almost any high school that you want, college that you want to go to, right? 100%. That alone, the course that can save your family money-wise for your education can be the difference sometimes between you actually going to school and not being able to afford to go to school, right? Because of what tuition costs plus books and possibly room and board if you go away to school, right? So we don't look at small things like that as like really affecting the bottom line of the stability of the family and your parents' ability to try to help you achieve what you want. So it's interesting just to hear, different perspectives, right? From different cultures and families of what they, think about and how they go about, raising their children in society today.
Like what is Pop said, we take our gifts for granted here.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's the biggest cultural difference, right? Yep. Being that we have access to it, we see it there, right? We don't really take it for granted versus somebody who's coming from another country, had a whole different life, a way of living. Different perspective on life. You come here, I know a lot of my dudes that came in from Africa, from Ghana and all that, bro. They come in and get to it.
I was going to say that literally verbatim. They get to it. I didn't come all this way not to.
There it goes. There it goes. Yep. That's real.
I think we developed that hustle later in life.
Now
that's our mentality. We get to it now. Like we ain't fucking around now.
Exactly.
Let's get to it at 55. Don't get to it at 55.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think it's another thing too you see is like when you do have that, when you do realize that later in life, then you see a lot of people in our community get into trouble, right? Because they're trying to now take shortcuts to get, because like for me, like I'm even saying, like it was gradual. I built up this discipline from even before I knew where this will pay off in like now or adulthood. But then when you're like, if you're my age 35 now and it's like, man, I got to get my life together, right? You're going to go out and do something dumb because it's like, not all the time, but you see it, right? You see it like people scamming, doing whatever, because it's like, man, now I need to catch up, right? And I think that's what hurts us a lot in our communities as well, you know.
Absolutely. You know, because also I want to say it this way also. I understand that perspective is everything, right? And experience is everything. So right, when you come from nothing, then or you come from less than, when you get in a position to have the ability to get more, you do more, right? But I also believe it's a product of the school system itself and the teachers and what they're actually teaching and what they're promoting, right? See, a lot of teachers teach, but a lot of teachers, it's a 9 to 5. They come to work to get a check.
Yep.
Especially now where they have the social promoting system in place, where it's the whole no kid left behind. Now they're like, if you do the work, I don't even care, because they're gonna promote you anyway. There's really no, like back in the day when we grew up, you actually got left back. Like if you didn't pass, you were gonna repeat that grade, right?
Facts.
But now, you know, it's the social promotion.
Kids don't fail anymore.
Well, it's not that you don't fail, but they give you a grade that they consider failing, but they pass you anyway.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Because I remember it used to be what, 3, 6, and 8.
I don't know what that is.
Third, 6th, and 8th grade in Chicago are you take tests every year, but if you don't hit the minimum requirement in 3rd, 6th, and 8th grade, then they'll make you redo it. That's how it was when I came up in the 90s. Yeah.
Oh no, it wasn't. So you know, let's just say like the basic passing grade. I don't know what it is in Chicago, but the basic passing grade would be like a 65, I guess, right? Like a 65. So anything kind of below a 65 would be considered like failing, right? So they didn't really do credits, but if you didn't pass a certain amount of classes per semester, like English, math, however many you had, if you failed 3 or 4, they would give your child the option to go to summer school, right?
For like high school,
the summer school, right? Yeah, right, to make up kind of like the classes or something like that, right?
We had that too.
Or if they seen you failing, they would give you like tutoring sessions, like extra help to kind of like help you make up the work. But like I said, nowadays, you know, if a kid fails with like a 55, and even if they got 3 55s, they'll still give them a P, like to pass them on to the next grade. And then I feel like that's a travesty, because now you didn't master that grade. Now it doesn't seem monumental in that moment. But you know, the way I'm fundamental, so I believe if you never understand the fundamentals, if you never understand the basics, you can understand the advanced things, but you'll never prosper past a certain point, because you're gonna get stuck eventually because you never understood the basics.
Yeah. And I even take it a step further too, right? Like you taught that kid that you don't have to complete something, right?
There you go. Yeah.
Like you've built into them that you can just kind of skip steps.
Yeah.
And that comes to bite you in anything in life, you know?
That's right, bro.
Yeah.
But you already know progress gets paid, bro. That's what it is. Especially in the school system. They have to show some progress. If Johnny can't read and get the 55, and we get 80% of the kids doing that, they all left back, and we ain't gonna get these dollars. We ain't gonna get this. We ain't gonna get looked into the district. So they put a band-aid on it, bro. And unfortunately, the kids get hurt in the long end, bro. So that's why we preach the mindset shit.
Yeah. That was actually my first job. I was a tutor my sophomore year, I want to say, for geometry. And then I used to teach summer school.
Oh, dope, bro. Yeah. Shit, how the hell you go from teaching summer school and teaching kids to get into marketing? How the hell you do that?
I don't know, man. Life is crazy. So, for sure. I have no idea. But even just to lean back before we even move forward, I think on the teachers too, something that I've noticed is that, you know, which I think is different from, you know, outside the US, is that teachers aren't necessarily a part of the community. So they aren't invested. You know, like you'll have a teacher that doesn't even live in the same community with these kids. So they don't really care if they pass or fail, as opposed to like, you know, probably like how things were back in the day, you know, like when our parents grew up, where it's like, like I run into my teacher at the grocery store, you know, but like now it's just, like you said, it's just a job. So
I think, I'll give you the flip side of that perspective, right? Because my mom's a teacher, my son's mom's a teacher. Everybody in my family, except for me, is teachers. You know what I'm saying? So they're in the neighborhood, right? The problem is, right, they have big hearts and they care about the kids. But if they do something outside, you know, or do something that impacts the kid's life, there's no reward for that. They doing it out the kindness of their heart, right? Like versus us being in sales and tech, I got a KPI, I hit this number, I get rewarded for it, and it's going to impact the business and other people and all that other shit, right? They do all that. I'll give you a story, right? So to show you they got a big heart. My mom was in Roosevelt back when the Latin Kings and all that was popping. My pops was a custodial worker in that same school. I remember one time, 16 years old, we talk about crazy hoods. I'm going to a party. Mom tells me don't go to the party. My dumb ass goes to the party anyway. I said, fuck that. I'm out there. I'm getting to it. As soon as I get to the party, 100 people walk into this motherfucker. 100 dudes, bro. Webster Ave, right where Cuzzo used to live. It's on St. Paul Avenue. 100 dudes come in. They start crip walking. It's the littlest kid on the block, bro. The littlest kid in the party. Kid must have been like 4 feet. He lift his shirt up, showed the gun. I said, oh, no. I said, oh, no.
Facts.
Mama told me not to. I'm thinking I'm hard. I got a double-sided razor blade that I cut Duchess with in my to nothing. I call Pops. I call my Pops, bro. He's going to a party. Just happen to be my uncles and cousins and shit. They come back up. They're coming from the shadow. They get there and tell me to come outside. For some reason, me and my get fresh dudes. These ain't my tough dudes. They ain't nothing. These are me and my get girl dudes. We go outside. They don't talk to for some reason. My Pops is standing in the middle of the street with a fucking suit on and a fedora. And Webster Avenue. Tells us get in the car. We get in the car. We safe. I'm like, yo, Pops, we out. We out. Phew. He sits there, said, nah, who fucking with my family? And my Pops is a regular dude. I'm not saying he's a big gangster. Nah, he's a regular, real dude. Big dude comes up to him. He's like, yo, now who this on my block? Yo, James, that's you? And yo, walks up to him, gives him a hug, damn it, lifts him off the street and say, yo, what you doing here? He said, nah, yo, fuck all that. Like, somebody's messing with my son. Y'all flashing guns on my son, bro? So long story short, the 3 dudes who were major dudes that ran that block used to go to the school he taught at. And he was the one that used to pull him to the side and be like, yo, bro, stop doing that. Yo, here's some extra cookies. He worked in the kitchen. Yo, here's this, here's that. And they always respected him. Had that not happened, we'd have been done. I promise you. I promise you they'd have let him have it right in the middle of the street. We would all been boop and it'd been done. You know what I'm saying? But I say that the impact of what the family and people in the community have on kids that is just not highlighted. You know what I'm trying to say? Those stories aren't going to be told, bro. But it's like now the ones like if you talk about the white teachers who live in the suburbs and stuff like that, they don't get us. They can't connect to us.
That's what I was more. So I was trying to be politically correct about it. But you know what I mean? You feel me though?
Yeah, and they need to understand the kids. And how can you be with kids all day, every day, and still not understand them?
Well, I mean, again, not and we can jump off. We can go past this, but again, it's just opportunity, man. When you're coming from urban city and you're talking about what a career looks like, what do you want to be when you grow up? One of the most famous questions that they ask kids early on, right? What do you want to be? What do you want to be? They're not looking up to teachers because they feel like being a teacher isn't rewarding enough. The salary is too low, right? The benefits aren't anything to strive for. They're looking up to rappers and ball players and people that look like they live a very good lifestyle. Too often, maybe never, that the fact that teachers don't get highlighted, right? You don't really see a teacher living a phenomenal lifestyle unless they're like the principal, right? The principal or something like that. Even on some of these TV shows, Hanging with Mr. Cooper and all, the one that Steve Harvey came out with, right? It's the principal that's kind of like the man that has the nice car and the things, but all the rest of the teachers kind of live like very basic, right? So again, like when we're talking about aspirations, when a child might think this is what I want to be when I grow up, you look at what the education level costs to get to be that, what it takes to get there. And then you say, well, is it worth it, right? Do I want to live that life of struggling or not, being as successful as I want when I grow up? And more oftentimes the answer is no.
That's a fact. Big facts, man.
Yeah.
Shit's fucked up, man. Pay the teachers, man. Stop playing.
I was gonna say, how do we fix it? But is it as simple as just paying them? Is it just pay the teachers?
I think T.I. said it best, man, when he was like, how do you pay the people whose job is to keep kids out of prison way less than the people that you pay to keep people in prison? I think T.I. that, you know what I'm saying? Correction officers and police officers and anybody in law enforcement gets paid way more.
60, 70.
That's a fact, way more. And their benefits package is way better than the people that are supposed to be educating the next leaders, right? The next leaders of the free world, the next policy makers and the next, you understand what I think the whole system needs to be scrubbed and redone and adjusted to the new modern age. But that's just my opinion.
But like they say, follow the money, right? Like if you follow the money, it tells you what's important to the powers that be, right?
Message. Follow the money. So, bro, let's pivot now. Where was your path to follow the money, bro? You over there doing teaching.
Right.
You said, nah, I got to follow the money.
He must have looked at that first check like, yeah, this ain't it.
Yeah, they was doing something illegal in my high school because I was in high school. They were, because I was 14, so I didn't even have a worker's permit yet.
Okay.
We were getting $6.50 an hour. They were like, yeah, since you're not of age, we have to take, the district is going to take half of it. So I was only getting like $3 an hour. I was like, how does that work? But whatever.
The district.
Ridge High School, I'm still in my ducats, but whatever.
I'm not working for $3 an hour. See, this is what I'm saying? I'm keeping it 100 with you. I'm not, even at 14, I'm not working for $3 an hour. Like, you see,
you out of your fucking mind.
You out of your mind. When I could hit the block,
right?
When I could hit the block, and that ain't even 10 minutes of being outside on the block.
That's one bag.
Right, that's it. That's it. That ain't even 10 minutes. That's a quick. Whoop. There's the 3 plus some.
The only thing that kept it going good for me though is because I knew this was basically after school in my same high school. I knew if I went home, my dad was gonna have some chores for me to do. So like this was just a way for me to stay around the homies, right? Because then at this point, like I knew all the knuckleheads who needed tutoring, so I was just chilling. Like the pay was kind of extra. That's why I wasn't tripping over. But now $3 an hour is still crazy though.
No, that's nuts. Yeah, that's definitely crazy, bro.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, what I wanted to be since I was 8 was an aerospace engineer. Like I wanted to work for NASA as a kid. So that's why I was very hardcore into math and science. So like my parents had put me in, like I was actually in a NASA program in 5th grade. So like we had like a Lego Mindstorm competition thing where you would build the robots and you would go compete with other kids. I used to take these classes at UIC in grade school and then high school for like math. So, definitely shout out to my parents who, really invested a lot of their time too. I think even we get back to the thing of kids and teachers, like we discount the fact of how much extra time your parents have to put into you to really get you above the hump, because school alone is never going to do it,
Couldn't hit the button quick enough.
I'm just saying, again, using the fingers, right? Your talents is not the same as somebody else's. But also, let's use the fingers and say your resources are not the same. Each one of these fingers represent a different community, and these communities have completely different resources. I never even heard of a NASA pro. Cuzzo, you ever heard of a NASA program? And he said 5th grade, which is elementary school.
Not over here.
I never even heard that shit in high school. Again, we argue at the fact that they don't even teach financial literacy, even in some colleges.
Yep.
And you talking about a NASA program.
The crazy thing, and that NASA program was in a high school on the south side in this area called Roseland. The high school is called Finger High School. Notoriously bad high school, right? But I'm sure they had gotten a grant and they had the NASA program. Like they had $1 million wind tunnel in there. And none of the kids who went to that high school used it.
Wow.
Yeah. So another thing where you were kind of getting like bussed in, like my mom used to take me to the program. I think it was every Tuesday and Saturday. And the kids, like I ran into some of the kids who went to the school who were like, what are you doing in there? Like they'll be poking their head in the room, but no one had so that's crazy, right? The resources there. The kids are going to class right next door to it's built in their school, and they're not. The teachers or whoever is supposed to be, promoting this to them isn't even, helping them to take advantage of this resource.
Wow.
That's crazy, bro.
See, I don't know what to say to that. Like $1 million wind tunnel. Like, only thing they spending money like that on, honestly, in urban schools is their sports programs, right?
Athletic programs.
Right. Like I went to Kennedy, which is one of the #1 football high schools. It became a good basketball high school, but we were known for football. Now we definitely had like $1 million football program. You understand? Like our stadium, our field was like state of the art, outside, full size, lights, track. I mean, the works, right? The gear was, again, and other schools that were known for basketball and gymnastics. LaGuardia had a hell of a gymnastics program, Olympic floors and stuff like that. So I know like their programs as far as like sports, because again, follow the money. What brings a lot of money to high schools and colleges? Their sports programs, right? Yep. That's where the money went. You know what I mean? So it's just, again, this was a great conversation just to show you, like you said, like just the priorities. Wherever you go, the priorities, you can see what the priorities are for that community, right? And for that, I guess, ecosystem, right? Because everybody's school is kind of very similar in that area of what they really want to see their kids achieve, man.
Yeah, but the programs are there. It's just, are you looking for them? You know what I'm saying? They got something like that at my mom's school where they got like programs and shit like that. Yeah, they got simulation joints. You can fly.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
It just back to the statement we said earlier. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at will change. Right? The kids are peeking in the room to see what it is, but they don't even comprehend what this is and what I can do with it. Because when I step outside, this shit is different.
And it's for them. That's the crazy part, right?
Yeah,
like, I didn't even go to that school. Like my mom found it from whatever thing she like. It was built for them. So
they bring you in so somebody can use it.
Yep.
Come on, bro. That's crazy, bro.
And it's a travesty because I think the more people that end up doing that, right? Let's not to cut you off, Cuzzo. The more people that end up doing that, what I think what it does is it opens up possibilities for kids to understand, if I have this as a talent, I might not have to go the traditional route as everybody else and go to school and become, ABC. What if I'm good with my hands, right? Perfect example. I think it was Smith in the Bronx. They had a full mechanic shop.
Yeah.
It's Smith, right, Cuzzo?
Yeah, Alfred Smith. Yep.
Right, Alfred Smith, right? So Smith, I know, had a full mechanic shop in their school. So now kids could go in there and work on fixing cars. Now, cars is a $1 trillion industry right now. Again, you can learn a craft or you can learn a trade that you can directly go right into after high school. You don't have to go to college, right? Yeah, right. You understand? And then it's a problem that you're solving, and it's something that's needed within any community, because who doesn't have a car or who doesn't use a mode of transportation that eventually needs to be serviced, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think about that too. Like my high school, like I went to a pretty big high school, so like we had the garage for like auto shop, we had the woodworking class. But even when I was coming out in like 2007, that stuff was dwindling down, And I was just having this conversation with somebody recently where I was like, I wonder if we as a society over-indexed on STEM, because then everything kind of went into that. And instead of these more traditional, woodworking, auto mechanic things that we actually need now, not saying that STEM isn't important, but it's like those programs have kind of fallen away. To your point, and I'm curious. I was just wondering that same question. Like, did we over-index in a lot of these? Everybody now wants to be an engineer. I mean, and I was a byproduct of that. Like, I went to school. I basically was going to go to school for engineering. I ended up going to University of Illinois. That was the only business school I applied for because I met these two cool Black dudes who have both gone there, and they came and spoke to my senior year class in high school, and they worked for KPMG, and they were just chill, right? And because I wanted to be an engineer so much, I visited the Caterpillar headquarters and all these different other headquarters. I'm like, man, engineers are weird. I don't know if I want to. Am I real? Hate it. And these guys seem so normal, They were like a year out of school, maybe like 24. I was 17. I was like, I can see myself doing that. So that's what made me, out of all the years of wanting to be an engineer, switch my major to business when I went to Illinois. And I had enough math to where I could have always gone back. Because at the time, Illinois was #1 in business or #1 in engineering over MIT, which was, I think, #2 at the time. But our business program was top 10. So I was like, look, it's not too much of a fall off to, do business there. If I hate it, I can always go back to engineering. But I ended up being a double major in accountancy and finance. Until, funny enough, 2008 happened, and then I was like, man, I got to get out of this, like the crash. So I stayed in business, but I would end up being information systems and supply chain management. But
that's a big shit. But so as you say this, I'm thinking about the skill sets that are transferable for you to go to now, right? When you said you wanted to be an engineer, you said you was good at math, right? So I could see that why it plays the search marketing, right? And understanding behaviors and stuff like that, what makes things tick and the algorithm plays and stuff like that. So like what actually got you into? What was the first step in the door? Because I know for me, bro, I'll tell you, I stumbled into tech. Sure. I think all of us do. I think we've heard enough stories of people who come into this industry, bro, especially advertising, marketing. Nobody was like, yeah, I'm going to be this.
Yeah.
Nobody. What was that for you?
No, I think it was pure chance. Like I came out, so I ended up coming out of school, still had that itch because, like I said, I went there for accountancy and finance. So I was in the Chase branch manager program. And because I was working for Chase when I was down at school, I was a teller like my last couple of years of college. And then I was just doing retail banking and hated it, right? Because I was working on the South Side, like back in Chicago. And I just, when you work in, because it's different working in an investment bank, which is what I was going to like get all my Series 6, 7, 63 and transfer into. But it was almost good that like I worked in the actual retail bank, because you see how harmful sometimes banking is to people in the community, right? Like charging them 15, like it's people, if you don't have the $500 to get direct deposit, then we're going to charge you $15 a month to have your account. It's like, man, this person needs the free account more than anybody, right? So then sometimes that puts your account into the negative, then you get charged another $35. So I did that for less than a year. I was like, man, this is depressing, you know? So a homie of mine, Maxine, who's still, you know, I think she's at Google now still, she reached out one day. She was like, hey, Trey, found this company, Bibiki, which is part of Publicis. I didn't know what Publicis was at the time. She was like, I just started this job as a bid scientist where, you know, we're working in search marketing. I didn't know what any of this she was saying, but she was like, you know, you don't have to wear that suit to work every day and we got a cake. So I was like, so, right. And yeah, I basically applied for the job, got the job, and that's how I got into search. Luckily landed into a really good client. American Express was my first client. We were managing like a $75 million budget. And like at the time, this is, you know, before, you know, all the automation. I was literally managing 100,000 keyword bids a day. Like you'll pull down the Excel sheet, you'll do the manual changes, you'll upload it back into AdWords, Marin, et cetera. And that was your job, right? And then building out dashboards. This is before Tableau was a thing, you know? So it was just funny. Like that job didn't exist 5 years before I got it, and it doesn't exist now. Like I think that's the crazy thing I tell people about tech, right? So you went within a gap of you had a whole job that was created and now no longer exists. So I think it's super lucky the time where I found myself in there and have just kind of leveraged that. And like different things that I learned from that first job, I carry with me in every job that I've had since.
You said y'all was a $75 million budget for search?
Yep. American Express. Yeah. Consumer, American Express consumer. And we basically, it was a cool client too, because we really had no budget, right? Like that's what we signed for like the IO or whatever first, but we had ROAS targets, right? And sometimes I really enjoy working on finance verticals, because finance understands money, right? So like they're going to have cooked their KPIs to the point where they know we can essentially print money if we get this right. So we had a CPA target and a ROAS target on each of the accounts, and basically they said run it up. As long as we're coming in under that target, we have no budget. So it was a really good learning experience.
Yeah, that's great. So I just had to put it up there raw. And everybody like, what the hell are you talking about? So return on ad spend, y'all. So like just break it down, just the high level for that, bro. So you get the $75 million budget. You're doing all of this shit manually. So you're finding out the keywords, you're doing the data analysis, seeing what's going to give us higher search visibility, all that stuff, right? Then you're doing all the computations without Tableau, which is nuts. Like, can you just walk them through what was the purpose of that and how did it impact the brand?
Yeah, so I like just put in perspective, right? When you think of search, if you went to a search engine, right, you type in credit card, right? What I'm gonna take from that, right, is that you have the intent of eventually getting a new credit card, right? Like, and when you talk about the proverbial funnel to get like really into the weeds in terms of marketing, you could be different stages of the funnel, right? So the higher the funnel, you know, you're just considering, or, you know, you're aware that there are new credit cards out. Somebody told you about this Amex Platinum. I just want to hear more about it. What are some of the things, right? So you're going to search something at the top of the funnel that's like, you know, Amex benefits maybe, right? As opposed to like, if I'm looking to get a new credit card today, it's like, how do I sign up for Amex? Right? That's going to be like, I'm ready to make a decision today. So those keywords that you're going after that are closer to I'm making a decision today are going to be more expensive because they're more valuable than, you know, someone who just, they heard of Amex for the first time today, they want to hear more about it. Message. My job is to make sure that we're allocating the right amount of money to people who actually want to convert and get a card.
But we'll convert faster, right? And in terms of business, the ones that are closer to converting, because I mean, just speaking from myself, because I walked my son through this when I was teaching him about credit. when I did the search, I wanted him to see what was available first, right? So put in credit card, see what's available. Then I showed him, okay, because I have experience with credit cards, these are the better credit cards to apply for. Then we click on those links and then see what the prerequisites are for those, and then we make a decision on which one is best to apply for, right?
Yeah. And I think the search, especially back in the day, like it's changed quite a bit with AI and everything and just different formats. But back in the day, search was literally you get 3 ads here and then you get 4 on the side. That's how Google or Microsoft used to be set up. So I used to talk to clients and say, their search ad is your digital billboard. If you so Amex, like we have this thing called CEO terms. The CEO, every time you typed in business credit card, he wanted Amex to show up number 1, right? Because psychologically, Capital One was our biggest competitor at the time. If you see Capital One come up above Amex, a normal person who doesn't even recognize that they're seeing ads, they think this is all organic. It's gonna be like, I didn't know Capital One was like really serious into the business credit card. Let me give them a look psychologically, right? So like method. You want to make sure that you own that space there. So like a lot of the times, again, not to get super into the marketing weeds, but clients will ask, we're coming up number 1 organically. Does it make sense for us to still bid on our branded terms? And it's like, because even if you type in Nike, for instance, right, and Adidas has a huge 50% off ad here, I wasn't particularly like, you probably have 5% of people who are Nike loyalists, like myself, right? Like I'm super sneakerhead, right? But say my mom, for instance, she's like, I was just looking for a good pair of shoes. Nike came to mind. But now since Adidas has a 50% off sale, right? That's where we going, right? So like it's, but that's search in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, it makes it simple. It makes it simple. It simple.
But how did you like? I'm curious now that you got the wheels turning, bro. Like, so we just had Stefan on Bajayo. He actually co-founded Conductor. So he was one of those brands, bro. Like, it's a big SEO firm, stuff like that, bro. So how would you optimize for that, right? Like right now with AI coming in, like you said, you're competing for those competitive ass terms. You optimize to stay in that top space. How do you know how to optimize your budget off that, right? You staying just below funnel, top of the funnel. How do you allocate resources at each stage of the funnel?
So you'll have like your KPIs set up, right? So like let's use CPA just to be simple, right? Like cost per acquisition, right? So like if let's use sneakers because that's easier, right? Let's say it costs Nike $100 to make a sneaker. So they're saying
$5.
$5.
Nike ain't spending Nike spending $100 to make no fucking sneaker.
For simple terms. But let's even say 5, right? So they're like, okay, we are selling these sneakers for $200.
Yeah.
Let's say $5, right? We're willing to spend $150 to acquire a customer to get that shoe, because when you get the cost all in, we only spent $5 on the shoe. If we spend $150 to acquire the customer, we're still making $45 off the amount that the shoe is. So like that's how you're able to kind of set your KPIs in a very simplistic method. So that's how you go about it. So I can look at that one keyword term, like say for instance, shoe, and be like, okay, for all the people that have clicked on this, we're at a $250 CPA, right? Which means it's costing us $250 to acquire each person that's clicked on the link after they've searched shoe. That might be okay because we're driving so much volume from the shoe term, right? We're going to offset that because since Nike owns that brand, they may be at a $20 CPA.
Right.
So you're trying to find the right balance of volume and efficiency. That's like your total job. So when AI coming into it, with these bid adjustments, like I'm literally pulling every keyword that we search. Then you pull a search query report, every keyword that any individual has ever searched that got us to our page. And I'm able to then say, okay, we're spending the bid that we have on this term, because it's a live auction, think of eBay, right? So like say for instance, shoe, we have a $5 bid on, right? It's literally a first auction like eBay, right? So like, we might be like, man, I need to bring this bid down to $4 because we're spending way too much cost per click on this term. So like that's what I was manually changing every day. I'll pull down the entire list of all the keywords we have, right? And then I'll do conditional formatting, not to like really geek out on this, but you know, I'll be able to do deltas of, you know, the last 7 days, 30 days, 90 days to see how this keyword has performed over time. And sometimes I'm like, look, I need to pause this keyword because it's super inefficient and it's tanking the rest of the account.
That's real, bro. You know, we could geek. We into this shit, bro. We does the SEO, we does the marketing. But I'm also curious because back in the day, especially even today now, it's hard for SEOs like yourself to prove value to C-suite executives, right? And you've become a C-suite executive. So how would you take everything that you just said and show value to keep your job and show that this is important for us to still put budget into search?
Well, I think search is an easy one, right? I think a tougher one is like when you talk to not all social, but some of the more like programmatic social, right? Like top of the funnel. Because with search and also too, I'll take a step back. It depends on the vertical, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
if you have something like retail, like you're literally printing money, right? Like the conversations that I have at the VPC suite level is talking directly to finance usually. I'm not using ROAS or any of these, you know, swanky marketing terms. I'm talking directly ROI. If you give me $50 million, I can give you $75 million back.
Right.
That we're having, right? But it's tough, like, you know, for instance, pharma, like I've done significant work within pharma, like I'm not necessarily seeing the prescription that someone got, you know, 2 months down the line. So in that point, you're going after more lifetime value and you're going after more lower funnel activities, right? Like this person search find a doctor, but then later they came back and, you know, clicked the download a coupon button. So then you're starting to look at blended KPIs because it's like, okay, after they found the doctor, after they had a consultation, 2 weeks later, they then downloaded a coupon. I doubt they will be downloading the coupon unless they're actually looking to make that purchase.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But let me add this in because this is a really big question also that I'm thinking about. What about, do you have the conversation about brand value, right? Versus the initial return on investment. For example, right? Let's say right now Nike is the #1 sneaker company in the world, right? Now, if a sneaker company wants to compete, let's say like Puma did a phenomenal job in the last couple of years of raising their market share value, right? So now if you say you were working with Puma, you could say, listen, Nike's #1, right? So your KPI, you know, the value that you're going to get versus this is not as important as us raising brand awareness for Puma itself. Because now if we can raise brand awareness from, let's say, just 1 point and move you up the food chain, that is equal to this amount of dollars in revenue in general, because it's not just sneakers, because once you have brand value, it's everything the brand sells, because Nike makes a lot of money off sneakers, but they make a ton of money off of apparel. Right? So how does those conversations lead out?
I think you hit the nail on the head. That kind of goes back to the conversation I was saying about, like, say, Capital One.
Yeah.
Right. They know initially, like, we've probably seen, I mean, Capital One's been around forever, but like, I'm thinking back 10, 20 years, probably the last 10, 15 years where, you know, they have all the crazy commercials. I'm thinking of the one that looked like Braveheart. You know, they have, you know, like,
what's in your wallet?
What's in your wallet, right?
What's in your wallet?
That was them poking because, you know, in terms of the credit card, like game, the hegemon is definitely Visa, MasterCard, Amex, right? So they had to do something. So to that point, they are trying to step above an Amex. When we were going back and forth, I'll give a funny story. Well, these CEO terms that we had, like business credit card, we had literally gotten to a point where we had $1,000 cost per click for the term business credit card. And a VP called us and was like, cut it. We had spent $1 million a week on business credit card and business credit card, 2 keywords.
Wow.
And the CEO was like, I don't care at the time, right? And the VP, I forgot who the VP of marketing was at the time, was like, this is ridiculous. You know, like, but I was joking. I was like, it's somebody who was at Capital One. I think they were at 360i at the time when I was at Publicis, is doing the same thing I'm doing because it was still very manual. So I'll go in and check, like I'll search on the computer. I'll see Capital One come up. I'll go into AdWords. I'll change the bid, right? And then I'll see it's #1. I'll come back 10 minutes later. They're #1. So like, you know, and I'm sure Google's loving every second of it, but you know. But yeah, to your point, I mean, I think that brand equity, that goes back to what I said. Like, search is also kind of a billboard. There's something we call conquesting. That's so, like, even I'm talking about you know, non-brand term in terms of business credit card. But if you're a Puma, you can bid on Nike terms, right? That's called conquesting.
Okay.
Right. So like the example I did with Adidas, right? Like if you're running a 50% off sale, or let's say Nike just did this crazy campaign for the Super Bowl, right? You know, a lot of people are about to come and search Nike. You can then just buy the term Nike, knowing people are coming there, and blast your 50% off sale.
Absolutely.
I like that. I like that.
You know? So
I like that.
Yo, bro, it's your SEO is so cutthroat.
No, I'm just saying, I like that because that's ingenious. Not to say it's the same thing, but it's kind of like what kind of like Soulja Boy did to kind of get that song that you popping back in the day when it was like LimeWire.
Yeah.
People would go on LimeWire to download things. So you would search terms and search movies and search songs, and he would insert his song under those titles, knowing you're gonna look for it. So after the 8th or 9th time that you keep searching different things, and you keep coming up.
I remember that.
That was conquesting as an artist at his finest. He's the first person to conquest as an artist.
It was brilliant. Yeah.
Yo, shout out to Soulja Boy though, man. Definitely, definitely.
Shout out to Don. Shout out to our bro.
What's up, Adon?
No, Don. Good, man. Shout out to Adon.
Yeah.
And Black Week as a whole, definitely got to throw them a shout out. You know,
thanks, y'all. Make sure y'all look out for the tickets. Black Week 2025. They just put it up, y'all. Make sure y'all go.
And I think it's super important because, like I said, I think what a lot of these bigger companies are doing, and I know that you see this, Trey, and I know it's a conversation that you're having with these companies, is they're really trying to get in touch with their community and really solidify their community, right? Because they're understanding that you're not just a brand to a lot of these people, you are a way of life now. You see what I'm saying? So so if you're a way of life, then what that means is not only am I going to support you, but if I have children, I'm going to have my children support you, right? Because we have our children follow us. So if we have friends and our friends don't know, then now we become free advertising, free marketing, and things of that nature. And I'll give you the best example like that, right? Let's say we go traveling a lot. We always do like airport outfits, right? One of my guys showed up to the airport with an Adidas outfit with Jordans on, right? With an
Adidas. Looked at him crazy.
And my friends went crazy. Like, oh, no, you did. I know you didn't show up with an Adidas tracksuit with Jordans on. If it's Nike all the way. You see what the is wrong with this guy? Am I kidding me? I'm just saying, for me personally, I'm telling you now, I don't care. I'm wearing what I want to wear.
I heard that's what the kids do nowadays. I heard the kids, they
look, even Adon said no. See, even Adon said no. Adon, I don't care. I go closet for closet with anybody. I wear what I want to wear. But I'm just saying, that goes to show you, right? When we talk about that, like that lifestyle, it's like, look at that. If I bought a pair of sneakers, now, when we're talking about not only now the acquisition of a customer for a product, a sneaker. Now, look what a lot of websites do, right? You buy a sneaker, or if you're even looking at a sneaker, if you notice now, it'll say match this fit or put together this outfit, and it'll now show you their products that they also sell that'll put together the outfit to match that sneaker you're looking for, right? And I think that's ingenious because now what they're doing is they're stopping you from looking around to find outfits. What? Put it back up. What he said? He said. He's acting.
That is pretty wild. I'm not gonna lie to you.
But again, and I think it's ingenious, right? I know Champs does it and like Foot Locker does it. So now it also makes it convenient for you because let's say you want an outfit, you want to put together a look. Now you can. It not only helps you stay within brand, but the companies get time. Or more revenue, the more time you spend on their website, right? Because the more time you spend, absolutely, right. So now the more time you spend, the more time you're looking, you're clicking through things, the more opportunity it is for them to close a sale or make a bigger sale, upsell you. So you came for the sneakers, but we sold you the shirt, the shorts, the socks to match, and maybe a fitted hat or maybe a hat to match. Now you know what I'm saying? Like it's a big difference now.
Which is funny though, because I feel like that's almost digital advertising catching up to, you remember when we came up and you go get you a pair of like Air Force Ones or Uptowns, as New York people call them, right? They also selling you the socks, right? Yeah. You got them, they got you in there because they make all the margin off all these other little things that they sell you. So
tags, all at the headband.
Yes, right? Yeah.
Right.
Adon, I'm sorry. We just gonna have to agree to disagree. You know, listen, we're gonna have to agree to disagree. I wear what I want to wear. And if you don't understand it in this voice, be clear. I wear what I want to
wear. Yo, bro, but I'm curious too. I gotta ask you, right?
Yeah.
You're giving a lot of SEO game, bro. We
Absolutely.
really appreciate you, broski. And a lot of our listeners are small entrepreneurs, first generation, entrepreneurs, things like that, right? And what they're doing, right? So I'm gonna give them just a quick high level, and I'm gonna ask you the question, right? So you said things like Nike. So if you guys are competing with something like Nike, that's a branded search term, right? If you guys are looking at something like shoes or sneakers, that is a non-branded search term, right? And you have to evaluate all those things, right? You got your first, you got your long tail keywords, your secondary to tertiary. He's looking at all these reports, seeing the whole customer journey through Google Ad and the Google analytics. You actually see the buyer's journey. But what is my question to you, bro, what is some advice? You're a business owner. I'm selling shirts. Just put a couple $100, $1,000 into this shit. What is some best SEO advice would you give to these entrepreneurs to try to get some real estate in search?
Yeah, I would say at this point, to be honest, like Google is super expensive. I probably wouldn't recommend that they go directly through like Google, because they probably won't get that much traction or impressions through there. Starting off, I think eventually that's going to want to be part of your marketing plan. Try Instagram, like get in front of you. You're going to have a lower, CPM, cost per 1,000 impression. And then you're going to be able to build audiences. Like, I've bought stuff off Instagram, you just scrolling through, you're like, man, that's kind of fire. Like I got this huge Sade shirt. I forget, it's Stripes and something. I forget the brand that makes it, but like I just saw it and clicked on it, and it's less money. Like you could make $5,000 work in, say, Instagram if you're selling apparel. If you do that in search or Google, I should say, it's tough, right? Because can you imagine how much Amazon pays for search or shirts every day? Like probably millions of dollars on just that keyword. You're competing with all these, then you're thinking of all the name brands that make this, so it's going to be tough to find. Amazon, the actual site Amazon, because people don't think of that as search too, but like I think we're seeing more conversation around what is search and what isn't. Even get into generative AI, like you're literally searching, right, for something. Like, so the way I usually break down digital advertising is you have push and pull, right? You have something like Instagram that's going to take all of your settings, preferences, likes, etc., and push you out something that we think you would like, right?
Yeah.
Search is basically you going in and telling, right? That's the difference between, like say Facebook or Google. You're going in and saying, I'm looking for red sneakers. Show me, and we're going to figure out, what your intent is. But, push advertising is usually going to be cheaper because, again, it's just making recommendations based off of all your individual signals that they've aligned to, someone that they think is similar to you, so audience, and pushing that forward. But that's, if you're talking about a small business, you printed out a few thousand shirts and you got, let's say, $5,000 or $10,000 you want to spend, I'll say Instagram might, because I think it's a good way in which you can show it, right? You have a good like visual layout of it that you won't necessarily get from text search ads.
That makes sense. But I'm glad you said social, because TikTok, for the younger generation, depending on which demographic, what audience you're looking at, more people are searching on TikTok more than Google. They're actually going to TikTok, where I want to eat, what do I cook, what restaurant in my area, food review, influencers, all that shit. And then in the shop, like all the products, I see more products being sold over there. I done cop the fucking stupid, we cop the toothbrush thing. we done cop the toothbrush thing on, like all that shit, bro. So it's just knowing your audience, where your audience is, what you're trying to sell, and where can you essentially get your product to make it feel like that, right? You said search right now is too much competition, but you gotta utilize your resources, AI, things like that. Social search, organic search. Organic social is what y'all guys should be thinking as a small entrepreneur, y'all.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point, right? Like I would say go where your audience is, right? So I think the first step is understanding who your audience is, and then finding out how to leverage that platform.
Message.
Wait, you're on mute. You going off too. He was going off. He had a mad good point.
No. I just wanted to compound what you said, because now this is a great question that we talked to a lot of people about when you're trying to convince a company like Amex, right, that's been around for so long and they have a mission plan and a business model, and this is what we do, we're Amex, right? How hard is it to convince them to say, hey, I know you're used to doing Google, but everybody's on TikTok. How about we reallocate some funds and now start, advertising on TikTok or advertising on Instagram because they're showing a greater return value? How hard is that when you're talking to some of these companies that have been doing what they've been doing for so long? And remember, their demographic eventually gets older, the buying power starts to drop. There's a new demographic coming up that they have to connect with, or eventually they will die out.
For sure. I think so. Like, I've had a lot of experience with that just at the executive level. And I think what I always try to come back to is when I'm having these C-suite level conversations is like, what is our ultimate KPI here? Right. And then back it out from there. If I'm saying that, look, we can get X amount of conversions on TikTok, then that's where we need to be. Like, taking the emotion out of it, and again, building out a use case that shows like, this is what our demographics are. I can't think of the word for it now, but like, where you have like, this is Becky, she's 24 and blah, blah, blah. I like to build that out for a client and say like, okay, 40% of your customers fit into this demographic. This is where they are. This is the cheapest way for us to acquire those customers. Again, getting back to something you spoke about before too, it's not all about direct ROI or ROAS or CPA too, right? It's that lifetime value. Again, I grew up in the Chi, right? Like, any money spent on a Gatorade commercial or a Jordan commercial 30 years ago is still proving value today, right? Put that in perspective. You're not going to see, there's no, Tableau chart that's going to show that I'm a repeat customer because of creative that they did on Jordan back in the day. And honestly, I think that's what Nike's missing, right? It's that storytelling that builds that unquantifiable lifetime value, right? So getting back to, like I said, something you mentioned before, I'm the same way. I tend to think that brands have a core group of about 5% who are hardcore people, right? So like, I love Nike. I don't really wear anything but Nike. Only time I really deviated was when, Kanye was over at Adidas. I had a couple of those, and I rocked New Balance. My sister put me onto New Balance when I was a kid, right? Before the wave. So I've been up on that, not these like new schoolers, right? But
not these new numbers. Talking about the old school.
The 480s. Yeah, the 480s.
574s, but like, say for instance, if my mom comes to me, like I was making an example, if she's looking for sneakers, she just happens to type Nike, right? If she asks me for a sneaker, like she's looking for a new cross trainer or something, right? Based on my feelings about Nike is going to be the recommendation I make for her, right? If Nike isn't inspiring me, who is the core person, and I tell her, look, Asics has a really good shoe, she's going to, so like that influence of your strong 5%, I think is where your brand goes. And I think a lot of these broader brands have either don't know that or have forgotten that, right? Because we're going to be the evangelists who are going to push the culture in that direction, right? And I think Nike, they got a little too in the weeds with it. And it sounds funny coming from a search guy, but I think they got a bit away from the storytelling and the creative and got really into the numbers of, we can push this button here. We can sell 1 trillion pandas and but that's not inspiring anybody, right? And I think that's a big part of marketing as well, not just, what I've built my career around. And, from different roles, like even my time at Fortune, that's a thing that I promote as well too. It's not just about, acquisition marketing. It's really about, because acquisition marketing at the end of the day is catching, right? When we talk about that proverbial funnel, I want to catch the customers that you created from doing, other types of marketing, telling stories.
Social.
Exactly. Yep. It's one of my old managers, Pat, used to always tell me all the time, like I think it's Liechtenstein or some one of these guys, but it's basically like we're a product of our words, right? So like if your world is your word, something like that, right? So like you have to know the word Nike to search it. You have to know that brand exists. Yeah. You have to know, you had to have seen a commercial or a billboard talking about Peloton to even go search it, So like all that shows why all those things are super important.
And bro, I'm looking at your journey. I'm looking at your LinkedIn right now, bro. You went from Group M, which is one of the biggest, advertising company agencies, right? then you went to Microsoft, then you went to Apple to do search, bro. What is it like what is it like being at Microsoft and Apple, bro? You said it looks like you went to Cupertino. You actually went to the Apple site, bro. What was that like?
It was cool, man. I went there to launch the search ads platform, which was the first of its kind product that Apple has. A lot of people don't even know that they have a cost per tap, not cost, but cost per click product. So like if you go to your app store and type in taxi and you see Uber have an ad right there, that's the product that we built. And it's called ad platforms because that can roll out across theoretically, anything that Apple does, right? They built that ecosystem around that. And like, it was cool, man. Apple, quite honestly, between them and Nike are my two favorite companies in the world. So when they reached out to me because they reached out to me the day they announced they were going to be launching that product at WWDC, and reached out and asked what I want to help build that team. It was a super cool experience, and definitely one of the highlights.
You just chilling in the crib, and Apple call you and say, "Yo, we need you to build a search product." What the fuck? How does that feel, bro?
It was cool, man. I think, and it was a cool role too because I work with kind of two sides of the business, right? I come from the agency side, so I was able to work with the business development team on like, this is how we go to market. Because Apple had never really had that experience of like, really going to work with agencies and say, this is what reporting looks like. This is what QBRs look like. This is how we talk about search terms. So I was kind of help building on that side. And then the other side was really leaning into the tech and saying, we saw that revenue per search was down in the game vertical last week. Like, what do we think happened? And this was during the time of like Pokemon Go. So things were going crazy on the App Store. Back in the day, but yeah, just super inspiring experience. Happy that happened.
I know that, but I'm just thinking about this. Like, how do you approach that, right? So they call you, Apple calls you, right? Everybody, we've talked about imposter syndrome, all those things. They tell you to build a new product. How do you talk to your superiors to say you have the right KPIs in place to make sure it's successful, right? Because there's no blueprint for what you're technically doing, right? Yeah. So how did you go into that to make sure you was put in a successful spot?
It was tough. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, working at Apple was a very interesting experience, and not like most companies you will work at, right? Because they like to call themselves a flat organization, which they pretty much are, right? Like technically, your boss is Tim Cook, right? Like that's kind of how it works. So with that comes a lot of like people are not real, like they're kind of your equals, right? But you still need stuff from them. They call it. Within your role, you have accountability without control. So it's things that you're accountable for, but you don't control it. So you need to figure out some kind of way to get political capital to be able to make things happen. You can really find yourself pigeonholed, right? So I would say like just figuring that out, it was definitely something I had to learn. It wasn't anything I was used to. Microsoft was a very different company, and my role in Microsoft was very different. And then, coming into that role as well, Apple's very weird at how things are segmented. I wasn't directly working with Apple Store. Ad platform, so search ads, is completely different than App Store. So some data that I want is from the App Store team, right? And then you hit them up and they're like, no. It's like, well, I need this to help build this product. They're like, no, not our problem.
Right.
But it's good though. I think that experience definitely helped me throughout my career because again, it's kind of teaching that quid pro quo. Okay, this is what I'm building here. This is how it can help what you're doing in your business. And then you find out a lot of the things that you would be asking for, they willingly give. Right. It's not just coming saying, I need this. It's saying, look, I built this for my business with your business in mind, and I'm sharing it with you. If you happen to have more data that feeds into this model, that'll be great. But that data is what I was looking for anyway, but it's just something that you kind of have to pick up from being within the walls. But definitely an inspiring place. I was there when I want to say the iPhone 10 came out, and then they opened Apple Park. So like it was a really cool experience.
Okay, so it was back in the day because I was about to say, I'm gonna be honest with you, Trey. If Apple called me today, I'd probably send them the voicemail because like spam. Why the fuck is Apple calling me? I'm gonna be honest with you, Trey, because the emails that we get now, so many unsolicited emails, spam emails, these spam calls. I send a lot of calls to voicemail, leave a voicemail. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't even know when to answer the phone anymore. So if Apple call me, I'm gonna be like, listen, you got my $3.99 for the gigabyte, but what you calling me for? Like,
right.
Oh, new gigs.
Right.
Yeah, but imagine Apple calling you and a guy like Trey, like we talk about now, right? You answer the phone, like guy, like, yeah, I'm from Apple and I want to give you a job. Like, get the fuck out of here. You ain't from Apple. You want my credit card number? You want me to click on the link so you can wipe out my bank account?
That's wild, right? That's wild that's the place where we at now.
Right.
It's emails that I don't even open. I'm like, man,
yeah,
this sus.
That's the part right there. That's the part, right? Yeah. You could actually get a business opportunity from a legitimate company, but because there's so much spam nowadays and so many things are not legit, you could actually miss up on a great opportunity because you don't even know if it's real or not. You know, what was the vetting process like that? Again, coming from where you were, going into a different organization, and we asked a lot of our guests this, right? Because now you're at a certain level, right? You're at a certain level, and even though they reached out to you, you're at a certain level. So do you go in and say, listen, I would love to work with you guys, but like this is what I want, this is what this is what I need. Like, what's that like the interview process? If you don't mind, walking us through that.
Yeah, no, dude, it was like a 9-month interview process.
Wow, 9 months.
It was random.
Hold on.
We got to pay some bills. We'll be right back.
I can't do your interview no more.
9 months, Trey? 9 months?
It was something like that. I'm trying to think however long.
Jesus.
They first reached out in June. They reached out in June. I didn't start until the end of February.
Of the next year?
The next year.
Wow. So
you talking about that company though, like who's interviewing, like the coffee guy, the mail guy?
So it was a guy who, this guy Dan, like still super cool with him. Actually, I haven't talked to him in a while. He set him up, but he had been on that team for a long time, doing like just different things within Apple, and like he would call one day and on his drive into work, and we would just talk about the industry. There was no structure, like that would be it, and then he'd be like, "All right, I'm at the office, bye."
Scam.
Before you go further in the story, but I'm curious, bro, because you're working at these agencies. How the hell they know you're behind this work? How do you build your brand as an SEO? Because back in the day, SEOs was you was secluded from everybody else, from the sales team, the marketing team. SEO had their own world, bro. How the hell did you build the brand big enough to be like Apple? Like, we need him. What was that?
I don't know, man. Honestly, I have no idea. I think probably because at the time I was at Microsoft already, right? Gotcha. That probably gave me a bit of cachet.
Absolutely.
I think, like I said, too, coming out of the role where when I came into Microsoft, I had the option to either be on the analytics team, I forget the actual name of it, or an account manager. And I like being an account manager because you get a little bit of everything. You get to still sell, interact with customers. Like, I didn't want to be, buried in the office doing account manager's work, But I did come from a very technical side of search. Like a lot of people, even in search today, didn't start how I started, like literally being a bid scientist, right? Like a lot of people, even younger people now, like if you missed that window, like I said, that job doesn't exist anymore. You came in with the kind of press play and go type of search. Like, this is my budget, this is my KPI, go. I hope Google does it, right? But like, I fundamentally understand how the algo works and like how all these things work together, how ad copy works with this. So I was able to, go through my career pretty quickly. Like, by the time I came to WPP, I had probably been doing search 2 years, but I was an associate director, right? I was leading the entire Allergan business. So like Allergan is like Botox, right? And all that. So like, it was a pretty significant piece of business when I was at WPP, which, has cachet in itself, right? Like world's largest digital. Well, I was at Group M, so world's largest. So then, Microsoft had actually reached out when they were rebuilding their Bing sales team. So I was working there for a number of years. And maybe someone at Apple took notice. Like, to this day, I actually have no idea why they reached out,
That's crazy. And you interviewed somebody, you interviewed one of the top execs at WPP, Chad, at Black Week.
Oh,
yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I forgot the last name, but Judy, our girl, Miss Jackson.
Yeah, absolutely.
Judy, shout out to Judy. They from WPP and all that. Like,
absolutely.
That's wild.
Again, though, Trey, I'm being honest with you, man. Like, 9 months is, you know what I mean?
It was just like we would have a conversation like that. And mind you, right? Like, I mean, I was chilling in my role, like at Microsoft, right? I wasn't particularly looking to leave.
Right.
So it was just super, they reached out to me. So it was just super casual. Like I would talk to this guy. We would have one of these, like, I mean, they were good conversations, like, I mean, super smart dude. Like if it's something that like I'm like really struggling with or thinking from like a very technical perspective, from like marketing, advertising, tech in general, like this is like a guy that like, I would like pick his brain. So like we would just have theoretical conversations, nothing even really about Apple. Then I won't hear from them for a month. So then I'll reach out to the recruiter, like, what's up? Like, what's going on? Then it's like, oh, blah, 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 like some random cock and bull thing. I'll have another one of these conversations with them. I think I kind of got fed up towards the end of that year and was like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Like, are they still hiring for this position or no? I think I sent some snarky email like that. And then they were like, okay, well, are you available to come next week?
Oof.
So then they actually flew me out to Cupertino, and then I had the regular interview with 3 or 4 people, and that one more so seemed like I was just kind of going through the motions. Like by that point, it already seemed like I kind of had it. And then I sat with the guy who sat above the guy who I was even interviewing with, who had been there forever, and he was like, you're in the top half of the top 1% of people in search. That's the only reason you're here. I was like, oh, I know, or else I wouldn't be here.
Message. Okay, God.
Yeah, so I was like, I know, or else I wouldn't be here. So but yeah, and then after that, they basically sent me the offer letter before I even got back to New York. Yeah. And then I planned, and I'm pretty easy to move too. So I just packed up I literally left Microsoft, packed up my apartment that Saturday and started work Monday.
Oh, so you ain't even give Microsoft 2 weeks? Come on.
No. So I gave them the 2 weeks.
You ain't give them 2 weeks.
2 weeks from that Monday.
You gave them at least 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. I gave them a couple weeks. And then like my last day was a Wednesday. I took that Thursday, Friday off. Yeah. Packed my stuff and then hopped on a plane Saturday and started Monday.
You know what this sounds like, Cuzzo, and I know that you're going to click in on this. This sounds like exactly what you've been preaching ever since you told about your journey on LinkedIn and about how you actually started connecting with your LinkedIn followers, about putting up a stake, having a casual conversation about your whole plan of why am I sending cold emails when I can just build a relationship with a person, right? And then they just want to, have a casual conversation. So by the time business comes to talk, we're associates or we might even be friends. You know me, and now you want to do. It sounds exactly almost like you're exactly right, Cuzzo?
That's exactly what it is. So the reason why I asked you the brand thing is that particular reason right there, right? Yeah. So SEO is right. It's such a competitive thing, right? We're all an SEO community is such a small community, but it's big. Everybody knows everybody. You know what I'm saying? So like when I was in the SEO agency, that's when I started the LinkedIn. I was with a guy named Mike King. I don't know if you know him. You ever heard of Mike King? Yeah. So he had a company called iPullRank, right? So I go there. I just came from Talkwalk, and I'm like, yo. We're a search agency. You want me to reach out to Chase and all these other big ass brands? How the fuck do I do that when nobody knows us? No, like nobody knows. I'm like, yo, bro, keep it real with me. How do you getting business? He was like, yo, I'm on Twitter. I'm doing this. I'm doing keynotes. I'm doing this. Light bulb just pop, bing. I said, nah, bro, if you're doing that, I'm not sending these fucking emails. I'm going to go to LinkedIn. I got like 100 followers over there. I'm going to figure it out. Let me see what the landscape look like. And I'm going to be me. We'll put the hat on. I'm going to be on my couch and I'm going to talk my expertise. Same way we're talking marketing right now. I'm going to talk my shit. Bro, $2 million in revenue off that. Right? Yeah. And it was just crazy, bro. And so that is exactly what it is, bro. But the fact that you did that, you went to the Microsoft, you went to that. Now you're at Apple. Now you build up the search. That's like an ill-ass product to say that you're a part of, bro. Like, I'm curious, like, out of all the things you've done in your career, we'll get into Fortune. What is the mama I made it moment for you? What is the one thing that you've done from a marketing or from a business perspective, career perspective, that you're like, this is what I was super proud of. My mom was proud of. Pops loved me for it. Because, what was that moment, bro?
It might have been that Apple thing, right? Because, I mean, we built that in the first 18 months. I think we built it to a $2 billion business.
If I raise up, gonna be trouble.
Hold on.
If I raise up, gonna be trouble.
$2 billion.
I want to say across 7 countries, $2 billion. So when you look at when you look at Apple is very I don't want to say nondescript when they put out their earnings. Like a lot of when they have services, all of that's wrapped into it, right? So like they don't break it out. So like that's Apple Music, but like search ads is also a big, and because Apple's very much on privacy, they don't really go into their advertising product like that because inherently, you are kind of leveraging people's information and the data or whatever to push it, even though I think they do a really good job at maintaining privacy for it. But no, I mean, that's a very high margin business because they already own the platform, right? The App Store is theirs. So it's not like, so all they're doing is basically saying, we're going to push down all the organic and we're going to plop a little blue thing here and who won it?
But that's exactly what Google did.
Yeah,
exactly.
Any difference, right?
Yeah, no different. No different.
Right.
The thing about Apple, which is crazier too, is because if you think about it's mobile kind of only, right? So that search engine results page is just one. So like you get that one, you're fighting over that one slot. Like I said, if you put taxi in, you're going to have Via, Uber, Lyft, all of them vying for that. And it's so big. So like if you put it in your phone now, it's going to cut half of whatever the next app is off. So that's super valuable, especially in the gaming category. Right.
Damn, I'm in the woo. This is where he talking about these $2 billion and shit. I gotta go to the bathroom now. I was good. I'm motherfucker gotta pee. I gotta throw up and shit. He said $2 billion off the search in 18 months, and we sitting there. Yo, put an ad on, cuz put an ad on, please. put an ad on. You talk to the people, bro.
We gotta pay some bills. We'll be right back.
Nigga sell something.
Right.
It again, like. When we talk about your experience of just transitioning over, of just, I want to do this in life, but I seen somebody that just looked cool, right? Think of the decision that you made right then and there, right? And that decision brought you to where you are today, right? And a lot of us have made that decision, right? This is why a lot of people end up in industries that they didn't get their education in, right? Because you try it out a little bit and you realize it's not as cool or it's not what I thought it was now that I'm here. The problem is you've invested a lot of these resources into learning and studying this thing, and now it's almost like starting over. You know what I mean? So, I want to commend you for being able to just recognize that you didn't want to do that and having the courage, right? Look, and then look at what you said again. I'm pretty easy to move. I'm ready to go. Apple made me an offer. I'm leaving. That's another point, right? Within our society, once you get to a certain age and now you have responsibilities, possibly a family, possibly a significant other, children, etc. People rely on the income and the position that you have in that moment. It's very hard to now say, I have a different offer somewhere else, right? Somewhere else. Now, I don't know the terms and the conditions of your deal, right? But again, it's I have to move here and try something different. And you were like, I'm pretty easy. Let me pack up, 2 weeks notice and I'm out, right? Once again, you could have been like, I don't know if that's going to be a guaranteed longevity thing for me. Am I willing to risk what I've built now here again, right? Where I'm at, I'm comfortable. I know the environment versus me going to somewhere else, another state. I might not know nobody there. I don't have any family there. And now betting it all on this new opportunity and hoping that it leads me to something greater. So I just want to commend you again on, a lot of people are not willing to trade. A lot of people are not willing to make that decision.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's advice I usually give people as well. It's like you have to get opportunity, take advantage of opportunity wherever it presents itself. Yeah. Like even prior to me, when I lived in Minneapolis for a year before I came to New York for WPP, right? It was a job. I wanted a job that was more than just like the, shoe-in promotion that they would give you from the bid scientist job.
Yeah.
And nobody would give it to me because what you realize in a lot of industries, I don't care if it's like law or consulting or whatever, they kind of build a roadmap for you, right? Like you'll have the analyst, then you'll get the senior analyst job.
Yes.
And I'm like, this is nonsense, right? So like I found the startup, Oveda, that was actually, it started a couple of years before by the old president of the Target. Like he actually launched Target.com, right? And to your point, I went out, I like applied for this job. They flew me out there. I'd never been to Minneapolis before and met with them. It seemed cool. Honestly, that's why I was able to learn a lot of the other parts of the marketing ecosystem, not just the bids, was because of that role, right? Which is how I was able to come in, be an associate director at WPP. But yeah, I packed up my car at the time and just drove to Minneapolis. Like one of my boys was living there already. He looked for an apartment for me. I was out of town. I think I was in Nigeria at the time. I think my grandmother had passed away. And my boy looked up the apartment for me. I looked at it online. I saw it on Craigslist. He went and checked it out, said it seemed cool. I reached out to the guy. So sight unseen for me, I packed my car up and drove.
Wow.
And just got to it, I mean, but like I saying, right? Like I got to California. I was like, I may not like it here.
Yeah.
I don't know if I had I've been to San Francisco one time before, the year before, for a couple of days. And I didn't like it ultimately, right? I quit Apple and I moved back to New York. Like that's why I tell people the advice I give people all the time is you can always, if I wanted to go back to that job at Microsoft, not necessarily the exact same job, I can always get that back. You can always get what you've had before, right?
Okay.
So why not take the shot to do something else? If you hate,
yeah,
so that's always been my kind of the way that I move throughout my life.
It's the insecurity.
Yeah, you on a lot of flights, brother. I love it.
No, but it's insecurity, Trey. I'm just being honest with you. It's the insecurity, especially in today's time, especially with what is happening right now with jobs, right? Yeah, the uncertainty of the jobs that you thought were certain. Yeah. Government, state, federal jobs that are now uncertain. You understand the uncertainty of the comeback is like, bro, I might lose this that I've had 15 years. You want me to take a gamble and try something somewhere else and hope that there's a possibility of, you understand, like the probability of people making that decision like now in today's climate is even less. And I'm not even being funny. I got people that won't even visit New York during certain, they be like, are you crazy? I live in Miami. It's too motherfucking cold in New York. Right. You want me to come to New York and just to visit, they won't come up and they be like, how much snow y'all get? See what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of different excuses that people will use not to go somewhere. You understand what I'm saying? So like I said, it's just a huge leap. I did it myself. You understand what I'm saying? I knew that I wanted to change. When I changed my life, I went to the Marine Corps and I told them I didn't want to go to MCRD Paris Island. You understand? I said, if I'm going to do this, you sending me all the way to California. And they're like, well, this side of the Mason-Dixon, everybody, I said, okay, let's try this again. If you want me, I don't want San Felice. You're sending me all the way to California. And I left my family, my friends, everybody in New York. I had never been to California and I moved to California. You understand? And ultimately, I spent about 2.5 years in California. And like you, I didn't like it. I had a lot of offers to stay out there. And I was like, I don't like it. And I brought my ass back home. You understand what I'm saying?
But you tried it. You gave it a shot.
Right? Yeah. Right. But so we try to, your story is so important because again, it reaffirms that you have to try to open your mind, right, to new adventures. Let's call it an adventure, right? A new adventure, right? To listen, meeting new people, trying new things, right? Open your mind and your horizons to be able to accept new possibilities. Because if you stay in this box, and like Cuzzo say it all the time, we know people that have never left the borough of whatever borough they live in. They live there, they work there, they mamas, their whole family been in that one borough, right? If you're doing that, you are definitely going to severely limit your chances of experiencing anything different and limit your possibilities for growth, man.
Also, I was gonna say the message I get from you too, bro, is the bet on yourself and the belief in yourself. But the only reason you're able to believe and bet on yourself is one, you had your family, you had your support system, but also you put in the practice,
put in the work,
put in the motherfucking work to say, you know what, I am him. Yeah. I'm going out there to Apple. They called me for a reason. They called me. You know what I'm saying? So that's such a real ass story, bro. And I would love to, I know we coming up on time and shit like that, but I would love for you to tell us, because we have a lot of people that in the corporate world, right, that want to climb up the ladder, want to become C-suite, VP level, right? What's the best advice you would give, especially to Black professionals, of how to climb that corporate ladder?
Best advice I would give, that's a great question. I would say best advice I could give is be yourself, first of all, right? I don't believe in imposter syndrome. And the reason I say that is because you are who you are, and everything that you've done is what got you here.
Message.
Yeah, bro, we went crazy on this.
Right.
Boy, goddamn, we gotta get both.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think in our community too, right? And we understand why, right? Like we think that we have to be perfect for everything, right? But a lot of the times, like if you come into a new job, I come into a new job, I have a ton of experience. Like I don't know this new place. I'm gonna still have to learn that, right? Like so it's like giving yourself that level of grace to say, like, yeah, I'm still gonna have to go. The higher up you go, the longer the learning tour is, right? If I come into a new job now as a CMO, it might take me 1 to 3 months to learn what the company actually does here.
Right.
And that's okay. I don't necessarily have to like, prove my worth the first week, or like someone's gonna figure out that I don't belong. I think it's really about giving yourself that grace to, understand you're here for a reason and just lean in.
Knowing that you belong. We belong, y'all. We belong, man. This was such a great ass story. We done geeked out. This is a marketing masterclass. Like,
it was.
Yo, this shit was crazy.
Masterclass.
Real talk, bro. We appreciate the fuck out of you, man. Like, this is what this is for, bro. You know what I mean? Because there's the brothers that's where we from right now, don't even know those possibilities exist, right? Don't know that you can go into these new avenues. They should be looking at AI, right? And look what the opportunities led you just by being curious, bro. So I just want to say, I appreciate you going through the journey, standing on for the culture, being yourself, because you're opening the door for the next person up that's listening to this shit right now. That's like, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to kick their ass, bro. So you open up the door. You ain't do no fuck shit, man. We appreciate you. And you're part of the family now, man.
All right, thank you, man. I appreciate y'all for having me, man.
So let me just keep going for what Cuzzo said. So what part of the family means is, number one, we don't gatekeep, right? We don't gatekeep. That's right off the back. So you're in your episode 180-ish. You know what I mean? Because we got a couple 180 and we keep going, right? But we've had guests prior to you, and we're gonna have guests after you. So now that you're a part of the More Than the Title family, if you have seen an episode with somebody that you would like to connect to for whatever reason, right? For whatever, it doesn't have to be a specific reason. We all know that our guests are of a positive nature, and they're we're gonna connect you, right? So you say, hey, I want to reach out to so and so, or if you see a guest in the future that you're like, hey guys, I would love to reach out with so and so. Do we have his personal number already?
Yeah, we're gonna start the group chat.
So we're gonna start a group chat, Trey. This is what we do. We start a group chat with us three, no secretaries, no middleman, right? If you want anything, you text us and we answer directly. And what we'll do is we'll plug you in with that person. We'll get the scheduling down pack, and we'll set up a Zoom call, right? We'll introduce you to that person on a Zoom, and then we get off the call, right?
Absolutely.
If you want us to stay, we can, but 9 out of 10 we get off the call because we just want to make the introduction, and whatever you guys build on, that's what that looks like, right? So that's the first step. So now you're part of the More Than the Title family. You have access to anybody that's been on this show, right? Secondly, if you have any events that are in New York and you want us to support, even if it's just to come up, come down. And so we love to support our guests in any way that we can, right? We just love to pay it forward. And also, if you just want to hang out, man, and you want to see different parts of New York that you might not have seen before, you know what I mean?
You want to know what the Hen Dindu's like. You want to try it?
You know what I mean?
Hen Dindu's all drunk.
Hey, you let us know and we'll hang out, man, because that's what we do it for, because it takes a village to not only create something but to maintain it and help it scale. So I know for a fact there's going to be a lot of people that want to reach out to you after this and get in contact with you. Can you let the people know the best way to reach out to you and get in contact with you?
Yeah, I mean, best way to reach out to me is you can do my LinkedIn. My email address is literally my last name, so akogu.travaughn@gmail.com. Straightforward. But I mean, Instagram, however you run into me, I'm pretty quick to respond, and I'm open. I'm an open book. So if you want to know more about any experiences, you want me to connect people with, different companies that I've worked for, just advice on, navigating whatever, feel free to reach out.
Bro, I'm gonna reach out to you too. We rebuilding our motherfucking website right now. We didn't geek out. I ain't talking to you about href Lang. I ain't talking about site migrations and all that. I ain't talking to you about that. But we gonna talk off camera. I'm gonna geek out on this shit.
What he's telling you, Trey, is you probably one of his favorite guests, man. He love this type of talk, man. He love it. He love it.
I was like, man, I don't want to go too deep in the weeds, man.
Listen, they need the information because there's a lot of tech people that are watching. Believe this. There's a lot of tech people, SEO people that are watching, and they love the info and they love the gems, and they're gonna use it to help them move forward. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, once again, another phenomenal show.
Come on.
Another phenomenal guest, dropped some gems on you and told you his life, his experiences, right? The goods, the bad. But one of the key things that, once again, we're going to hone in on is he showed you that he was unafraid to make the change. He was unafraid to bet on himself, right? Sometimes waiting 9 months. 9 months for a job. Some of y'all don't even want to wait 9 minutes in line. It's a fight. I'm saying, you don't even want to wait 9 minutes in line for a hamburger or a hot dog or something. It's a fight. But it goes to show you that perseverance is key, right? Sticking with something, knowing that you are the man for the job or the woman for the job. You have the abilities and the talents for the job. It will pay off, right? So once again, that reaffirms that, listen, the dream is free.
But the hustle is sold separately, y'all. Y'all know what it is. We see y'all on Tuesday, man. Y'all better reach out to Trey. Stop playing, man.
You know what it is.
What you know about me? Seen it all, heard it all. Oh, what you know about me?